Right. I think when we get to the point where we can recognize our own internalized oppression as Native people, then the tides will shift. You know, we are fulfilling the prophecies that were given by ancestors, and we're fulfilling them completely. And it makes no sense when we have so much education at our disposal that we can so much re-educate who we are and understand that. For me, and everybody else has their own definition of who's Indian enough. I don't know if I'm Indian enough for anybody, because I don't know if
you're learning how to beat out of a book.
Yeah,
An Indian learns how to beat out of a book, Minty.
The same one that just made you a drink.
Are you saying I'm less Indian because I drink alcohol?
I'm saying.
You know, there's some people who think that, like what do they say? They live in the red road.
Mm-hmm.
Is the red road mean you're don't drink alcohol, or you sober all the time? Because I think some of the sober people, I know we got a alcohol problem in Indian country, but I think being sober has more to do with being conscious than being not alcohol free. So if they're alcohol free and they still living the same way and jumping through the same hoops for the white guy, maybe you ought to get drunk and bump into the hoop and make a change. But the drunk doesn't do that.
Right.
You see, I think if a lot of our people sobered up, then I don't think the sober Indian, the jump through the hoop Indian that's so used to jumping through the hoops, I don't think they're prepared for a bunch of sober Indians that are going to be upset.
Right.
You know, I also think that there's a generation. I think maybe some of our people that survived were blanket ass Indians, or just jump through the hoops, and then there's going to be a breed coming up that's the descendants, or still has that blood in them from people that were not, they were the rebellious type, you know. Sometimes that might be in your genes, being a rebellious type. And if you were rebellious back in the day, and you thought more with your heart than your mind, I think you got killed.
Right.
And I don't think people realize that, and they take this this answer they give for why we're in our situation now. They say, well, our relatives signed all these treaties, they had to look out for the future. And then we got people still signing treaties, still going to DC, looking out to the future, but not my future because I'm a mixed blood.
Right. And they talk about enrollment left and right in blood quantum. Blood quantum is at the risk of pissing off some of my fellow skins. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. And it's hampering our ability to be united as people. And it pisses me off for a lot of reasons. You know, I didn't even get enrolled. In fact, the last time somebody put a camera in my face, I didn't even know my grandfather's people, my birth mother's father's people. And so all I knew then was that I was Creek mixed with black and white and Choctaw, and I knew I had possibly Cherokee, but I grew up in an urban environment where that was not something I was gonna talk about. I just was, you know, Creek, and that's it. And then I found my grandfather's people, and they're Santee from South Carolina. And
your grandfather from your adopted?
Birth mother. No.
From
my
your birth
mother's father. His
Santee
people,
from where?
from South Carolina.
There ain't no Santees in South Carolina.
There's plenty of Santees in South Carolina.
Santees are like Dakotas. That's Santee, I think. It's a Dakotas, Lakota, somewhere in there.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, so thank you for the education from non-Indians that taught us that, because that's not all that we are. And if you talk to the Santee from South Carolina, we know that people always go, no, the Santee are from Nebraska and Minnesota, right?
But do they speak
Dakota.
They do?
They speak Dakota.
That might have to do with Tecumseh. Because Tecumseh went around trying to unite all the tribes, and he probably had warriors going with him in different places. He probably wow, maybe.
So, you know, the people that are in South Carolina that are from the Santee Indian Nation of South Carolina have historically been mixed breed Indians as far back that, you know...
Do they know their language? Do they speak their language?
Very few. Very, very, very few. I don't. And I didn't grow up with...
So they would probably talk to some South Dakota natives and they would say, you're not Indian, huh?
They would
Has
not
that
say that
happened?
because our tribe doesn't go by blood quantum, and because we're mixed breed Indians, I think it's the opposite. I think we get Indians who are like, "Are you sure you're Indian? Because you got light skin, you got light hair, you got light eyes." You know, they bought into all that slave mentality. You know, but Indians, you know, just like any other culture,
There ain't no Indians in South Carolina.
them Indians in South Carolina are going to be looking for us later. Yeah, there's plenty of Indians in South Carolina.
You know what? This one white guy asked me one time, and then he says, "Me, I believe there's Indians in every state." Okay, and then he says, "There's no Indians in Pennsylvania." And then I'd be damned if I'm gonna let him say there's no Indians in a state because it's our country.
Right.
So I said, there is 2 Indians in Pennsylvania. He goes, well, what do you know? How do you know that? I said, because this was our country, man. There's got to be an Indian there somewhere. Right. They just couldn't have wiped out every Indian in the whole state.
Right.
And then, but I think that's a problem because I think some of our own Indians. I know this. I grew up in Montana, and I didn't think there was any Indians in New York or Connecticut.
Right.
So I'm like, yeah, you're talking about being brainwashed. I was brainwashed.
I think we all were to some
And
level.
then when I found out the Iroquois were over there, I was like amazed. And then that they still have a culture intact.
Right.
Probably more intact than my culture where I'm from. And they're in New York, one of the biggest, most colonized states in the Union.
Yeah.
You were saying about what?
Well, I was saying that
You're saying I need you to mix me out another drink?
See? I think we live in this society where more people are ignorant about us than anything else in this country. We're so invisibilized, and then so many of us are urban.
I'm not a medicine man, so I could drink.
This is true.
Ain't it right though? They say we're like either a medicine man, we're like keepers of the earth, or we're a drunk.
Well, and
and I'm not a drunk either, Minty. I'm not a drunk.
Well, but who puts these labels on us? Like, I will meet African Americans who will say, "Oh, you're black
Indians
and Indian."
No, Indians do.
Indians do it too. They'll go.
They'll say you're not Indian, you're drinking.
Oh my gosh.
But what you're saying, you meant?
I meet African Americans that want to connect to who they are as Indian people, and even I wrestle with my lenses, my filters that I've been raised with that make me distrustful of that, because I go, well, it's more than just figuring out who your great grandmother was. It's more than that.
My great grandmother was a Cherokee princess.
Are you gonna spend your time invested in the community? Are you going to spend your time putting up with the bullshit that isn't thrilling about being who you are? The same way that somebody who discovers they're black can't just suddenly become black because they figured out that their great grandmother was black. It's it's an involvement, it's an investment, and it's a lifelong thing. And
well, Steve Martin was black, and he was raised in that black family in that movie, The Jerk. Did you see that movie?
Yeah, it was.
Remember when he heard that movie?
That was a great movie.
He heard that jazz music. And I just loved it because he went and acted like a white person. Got rich and spent all his money in the black family. What they invest in? Commodities. Soybeans and the agriculture products.
Remember that movie?
Huh?
I can't believe you remember.
Oh, I feel like that guy now. I feel like Steve Martin, the jerk. And I got my camera, my little car, and a little pay-as-you-go cell phone. And that's all I need. That's all I need is this camera, my car, and my pay-as-you-go cell phone.
And you lose that car, you be like, I got my camera and my pay-as-you-go cell phone.
Yeah.